Hi, Christine. I see you're in there, and I am not actually sure if I'm on. So hopefully I followed your guidance on this correctly, and you can hear me and see me. Oh, good. Yes. Okay, awesome. This is my first time doing a live to begin with and using this awesome app that Christine told me all about, and then Wasim also told me about. So I guess just a little tips here, guys. How do I make sure that this is being recorded? Christine, can you give me a pointer on that? And then the other thing I need to be sure is that the PowerPoint itself is visible without all my notes on the left. It almost appears as if what's visible is just, Bear with me, guys, while I get this off the road. I guess what I'm going to do is just put on the PowerPoint, and I won't really be able to see anybody's notes or questions or comments. I believe I should have asked for a moderator. But as some of you know, we had a last-minute emergency. I had to take my husband to the ER last night. So I wasn't even sure if this was going to happen today. But I made a commitment, and so here I am. A little bit hoarse throat from exhaustion and everything, but here I am. And I guess what I could do is go on to YouTube. Bear with me. I just want to make sure that I've got the recording going. I hope I can edit this out afterwards too. I do have a lot of material I have to cover, so I got to go fast on this. Your channel. And well, I guess I have no clue how oh, wow, there it is. Well, okay. I guess I have no clue how oh, wow. There you go. Awesome. Okay, so I actually have you on the phone. Great. You'll have to switch to presenter mode for that. No clue. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave it up like this and trust that it all will work out. So thank you guys for your tips. I am Silvia Pancaro, MoonCoach. I'm the creatrix of MoonCoaching, AstroTarotOlogy, Astrovibology, and lots of other programs that I have created over decades of working with astrology at a professional level and with various esoteric tools, which of course includes the tarot. I am a student of Paul Foster Case's work, the Builders of the Adytum, and so lots of the assignations that you'll see me sharing, both in prior broadcasts and future, and this one, are all based on the Builders of the Adytum system, which in essence is the Golden Dawn system, since he was a student of the Golden Dawn and a member of it. So that all said, today's presentation is on working with the lunar phases, astrology, and the tarot and actually the oracle cards within the concept of new beginnings. So first of all, thank you, welcome. And Wasima, thank you again for inviting me. I love the group and I love all my tarot friends, and there are new ones that I've yet to meet, and I'm looking forward to following and seeing your presentations, and new friends who are watching all of us and excited to get feedback from all of you as well. And older friends who I've met over the years through my moon coaching work and through seeing you working with tarot as well. So that said, here I am in my sacred space, and I'm trusting that all of you have been watching all the juicy things that everyone else has posted, and you've got hours worth of seeing other friends share their own wisdom and guidance with all of you. So I'd like to take this moment to create a virtual sacred space together, just with a little sacred sound, just 30 seconds. I'm doing it as much for myself as for you, and for us as a unit of consciousness, because I literally got here 40 minutes ago from the hospital, and as soon as I'm done, I'm heading back because I don't really know, we don't know what's going on with my husband. But as I said, I'm committed to this process, and here I am. So wherever you may find yourselves, I invite you to close your eyes and intentionally breathing in and out at your own pace, connecting heart to heart, wherever on this beautiful blue-green gem of a planet you may find yourself. Connecting to the Earth Mother and to the Sky Father, or reversed, however it is that you choose to see the divine in all of its expressions, including yourself. Beautiful, divine brothers and sisters of the light, incarnate here to play together, to create together, to explore together. May the information that I share with you today serve you on your path. Take what resonates, and whatever doesn't, it's okay to say no and turn the page on to the next piece. So once again, thank you. And I'll review all of your notes afterwards so that I can keep track here. This is me in various situations where I've taught, both usually at home. I'm not a YouTuber. I'm looking forward to learning how to become one. So I normally teach out of my sacred space at home, or I travel. I call our home and our teaching facility the Yellow Brick Road. And wherever I go, it's always the Yellow Brick Road. Excuse me. In one of the pictures, you'll see me here at Tarot, at the Tarothon, hosted by the wonderful people at Tarot Professionals out of the UK. And this one was in Florida, and made lots of wonderful friends. So if you don't know about them, definitely check them out. And I do enjoy teaching virtually as well as in person. And because of my background in interior design, as well as television and the metaphysical field, then it's really important for me to be able to see you all and make that spiritual connection, well, both etherically as well as physically, or at least visually. So this is a little bit tough for me since I can't see your faces. My classes are always held within a webinar format in which we can actually see each other. So that said, I'm still excited because I can actually feel the love and the unity consciousness present here. And just so for those of you that don't know me, I am MoonCoach, like I said, and I am the inventor of MoonCoaching. And I developed that program about, 20 odd years ago, after 30 odd years of being a professional astrologer and metaphysician. So all of the pieces that you're going to see today in the PowerPoint, and hopefully maybe some questions may come up, come from my MoonCoaching program. And the most recent development out of this sacred work that I've been doing for really all my life is AstroTarotOlogy, which is the combination, as you might guess, of astrology and tarot, and the vibrational fields that each of these tools, sacred tools, gives us and helps us to tune into our own unique vibrational frequency. So I do publish every year, or almost every year. I took a vacation and I plan on recreating it. So what's the what is the theme here? The theme is new beginnings in 2020. And we normally set goals and set a New Year's resolution on January 1st of the calendar year. Excuse me. The calendar year is the consensus reality that we've chosen in the Western world anyways, because there's lots of cultures and spiritual and religious systems that do not use January 1st as a starting point. But in the Western tradition, we have billions of people on the planet that are focusing on setting the intention for something grand and new on January 1st. And that's awesome, because that means there's a lot of energy there for us to work with. And so I will look at that particular chart, the astrology chart of January 1st, 2020. However, what I have been heaven and hell bent and earth bent on trying to bring onto the planet everyday consciousness is that the real New Year is not January 1st. It is very much it's artificial timing as opposed to more organic timing. And what I mean by organic timing is that there are systems that work with the cosmos and the seasons on the earth to give us something that feels more soulful to us. And this is the basis of my work. It is to consider the real New Year when the sun, which is the yang principle, the active or masculine principle in creation, which has nothing to do with gender or sex, but with that creative impetus, yang being the perfect word for it, active principle represented by the sun, comes together in sacred union with the moon, which is the feminine principle, receptive. And so these two together combine energies, active, receptive, yin, yang, feminine, masculine, to sort of create an organic energy field, which is further amplified by the zodiacal sign, or channeling rather, the zodiacal sign's energy to us on the planet Earth with which to co-create. So for me, the most natural new beginning is always the new moon. And I'll go into that a little bit more. And additionally, why am I saying on this screen here March 24th as the real New Year at 8:28 a.m. GMT? Well, that's because the very first new moon of the astrological year is always the new moon in Aries. And it does fall on a different calendar date each calendar year. So let me move on and you'll see what I mean in a couple slides here. Sorry about my cough, guys. So the zodiac is a band around us that consists of 12 zodiacal signs. I don't want to get all technical, so please don't ask me to explain how we go from explain the whole 360 wheel, etc. I go into that in my classes, but that's not the space for it here. I'm happy to answer that in classes though. So just trust me when I say Aries is the 0 point. I'm sure a lot of you have heard that terminology of a 0 point, a beginning, a true launching point within anything really, whether we're talking the calendar year or any energy field. And Aries represents that. There's 0 Aries, and it goes all the way around the circle until the 360th degree, which is the final moment of the 12th sign, Pisces. So we call the 0 Aries point the actual astrological new beginning point. So we can actually see the new beginning as being when the sun travels and hits that point, 0 Aries, which in the northern hemisphere kicks off our spring. If you look at it astrologically, we don't have to worry about the seasons, even though there is a seasonal aspect to it. But we don't have to worry so much about the northern and the southern hemispheres because we're actually working with an astrological 0 point as opposed to the seasonal. Again, I'll leave that technical and mathematical and astronomical conversation for another time. But we would call that the solar new beginning point, which in 2020, and you can take note of this if it sounds meaningful to you, and it is energetically, March 19, 2020 at 10:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you'll need to look into what it is locally for you. That is when the sun will hit the astrological 0 point at 0 of Aries. Then we have the next organic natural starting point, which is the lunar year. Now, in the Chinese zodiac, which I do not study, I'm not the person to ask about that, but it's a highly respected system as well. I believe the Chinese New Year begins with the Aquarius new moon, which normally happens, not always, in February. What I'm calling the Lunar New Year is the Western tropical zodiac. So that's when, as I started mentioning earlier, the sun and the moon come together in sacred union in that very first sign of the astrological wheel, Aries. And for us this year, it will happen on March 24, 2020 at 4:28 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is extremely important for everybody to learn and get familiar with, and I will be doing additional presentations on that as we get closer to that date. I just felt that if I'm sharing with you pieces of my moon coaching system and my astrological system, which is, the astrological New Year isn't me, it's all astrologers, that I absolutely had to mention these two dates in addendum to what we're working on as far as the calendar New Year, January 1st, 2020, which of course also brings into the picture the idea of a whole new decade. So yeah, it's a big deal on the one hand. On the other hand, guys, I'm going to sound like a heretic here, but it's really not. Why am I saying that? Because every single time that the media and the system goes on and on and on about some calendar year, nothing really happens. Think back to the new millennium. They made such a big fuss about it. And there were astrological aspects which were huge at that time. And they are important. And that's why there's importance to it. It's not because it's a quote unquote new millennium or now a new decade. No, it's really about the astrological aspects that are occurring that give the collective consciousness an opportunity to heal, grow, and evolve individually and collectively. I have the chart for it, so I'll go into that briefly towards the end of our little chat here. You might also consider, well, what happened with December 21st, 2012? And again, for years and years and years, that went on and on and on about how, oh, it's the end, and oh, it's a this, and oh, it's a that. What I'm going to propose here is that all of these factors, these dates, are more of an organic internal process than they are anything huge external. The only huge thing really, and I'm going to kick myself for saying it that way, but because there is more that's coming to clarify the importance of this window of time, 2020. It's really not just 2020. It's 2020 through 2025. From an astrological perspective, that's the big window of time that collectively we're going to see major shifts in consciousness, internally first, externally, and of course we're already seeing that socially and politically. Enough on that, because otherwise I'll go into one of my Sagittarius moon tangents. So please do consider these 2 dates in addition to January 1st as new beginning points for you. The importance of all this work is based on your own unique essence blueprint. That's what I call your astrology chart, the essence of your being, who you are. It's all in this round wheel that is a snapshot of your potentials, your challenges, your karma, and your dharma. Your astrology chart is a blueprint for who you are developing into. And again, I'm going to sound a little bit like a heretic here. I mean, I'm pretty sure all of you believe somewhat in the idea of reincarnation. But I actually believe that one lifetime, I can already hear some of the people calling me whack, not you guys, but other people that might be watching, that one lifetime is actually a 26,000 more or less year cycle. That's called a grand year in astrology. We have become so myopic, and we see only through the lens of, oh, I'm Silvia, and, you know, I've got dark curly hair and brown eyes, and my parents from Argentina, and I live in Georgia, and I'm an astrologer, and yada, yada, yada. And, you know, we get so tied up with the idea of, I'm just this one person. But if we were to step back and above, we would see the grandiosity of everything and everyone we really are. So the importance of your natal chart is that it helps you to understand the individualized spark of the totality of your being in this single lifetime and how it ties into prior existences, future existences, the effect you can have on that by growing now through your choices, and even simultaneous or parallel existences. I'll have to leave that for another talk. So understanding that your chart becomes the foundation upon which you play and create each of these new beginning points, okay? Each calendar new year affects and brings into collaboration parts of your psyche. The planets in your natal chart are parts of your psyche, of your soul. Psychology is the study of the soul. So your psyche is the very essence of who you are at a cellular level. So as you listen to everybody that you're listening to already and will through the rest of this Tarothon and through my presentation, I'd like for you to keep in mind that there are going to be certain new beginnings, certain new years, certain new moons, certain astrological transits that trigger different parts of who you are, different parts of your psyche into collaborative co-creation. Not all your new years and solar cycles will be the same. Some are much more profound than others. So let me continue because I'm getting really deep here. How am I doing? I guess I should look to see what you guys have here, if there's any questions. But if I do, I might lose track. I think I need somebody to tell me how I do. Oh my God, I'm already 25 minutes into this. Okay, so let me get to the practical aspect of it. If you don't have your chart, first of all, for those of you on Facebook and YouTube, please go ahead and email me, Silvia, Silvia @mooncoach.com. And send me your birth information. I'm happy to create the free chart, not an astrology reading, but the free actual chart. I actually have a link on one of my websites where you can just get it and download it automatically. Because it's really important that as you work within the lunar phases, in particular the new moon, which I'll be explaining, that you look to see where in your chart, what part of your psyche is being triggered or activated by that cosmic and organic energy. In a chart, we have 12 sections. Those 12 sections of the 360-degree circle represent different aspects of our lives. So as a new moon falls within a particular piece of the pie, then that'll represent a focus in whoever you are in this incarnation to do something with that energy, to not just make a new moon wish. You know, that's really superficial. I'm more of a shaman, so I believe in going way deeper. So let's say that a particular new moon falls in your second house. That second house relates to tangible things in life: money, bank account, your gifts, talents, and abilities, and what's important to you. What do you value in life? So on the one hand, let's say that you use the energy of that particular new moon and lunar cycle to set goals around finances, that you want to create a better financial flow and abundance in your life. Okay, fair. That's absolutely fair to do. You can also take it a notch deeper and focus your creational capacity during that lunar month on better understanding your own values. If you don't know what is important to you, then you would want to use that cycle, that time of the year, that it's usually a 29, 30-day cycle, the lunar month, to zero in on what matters to you. What do you give value to? Is it being successful in your career? Do you value spiritual growth? Do you value the way that you are within the family setting? You know, or all of the above? Let's pick another one. Let's say that one of the new moons will fall in your sixth house. The sixth house is generally seen as the house of health and well-being. So you may choose to set a new moon intention and a goal to clean up your dietary intake, to make sure that you're drinking enough water, to totally shift the way that you take care of your body as a vessel. However, the sixth house is also about daily habits. It's about our mental clutter as well as the physical clutter. So you may want to go deeper and ask, well, what is it that I'm doing unconsciously on a daily basis that might be triggering certain negative health effects? So you see that there's an external way of working with it and an internal way. And you can do one or the other, or you can do both. So this is an important thing to consider in terms of new beginnings, because I'm kind of putting out here to you that you can work with natural cycles via the new moons. And I have dates coming up on one of the slides in which you can really go deeper than what the vast majority of the billions of people on the planet are going to be doing and say, I'm going to lose 30 pounds this year, or I'm going to write a book this year. Yes, those are good ones, but you really need to sort of break them down into smaller bite-sized monthly bite-sized pieces that you can handle, and then that will not sabotage you. And the tarot and oracle cards do have a part to play in this, as we'll discuss in just a bit. Let me see if there's anything else here. Hi guys. Hi. Oh boy, there's a lot of you. Hello. All right. So I'm trying to get as much information as I can. And let's see. So on this one, what do I want to discuss with you? Is everything coming out okay? It appears it's almost as if, is the whole screen showing, guys? There should be a top. It just switched. There's a lag. Okay, so there's a lag here. All right, so each one of the houses I already went into will afford you the opportunity to focus on a different aspect of your life. I have this information available for download for people that subscribe. So if you're interested, again, let me know. And I'd be happy to give you the printout, the download for these particular slides that show you the areas of life and the information. So basically, the whole idea of new moon wishes, to me, it's very tepid. It's not good enough for me. That's how I came up with MoonCoaching, was realizing that there's depth to this. The moon represents our soul, and therefore there's a depth to working with the moon that the ancients knew about, and that unfortunately has been very watered down by the New Age, since in these last few years that everybody has finally discovered the new moon, because everybody was working with the full moons and forgot all about the new moon. The full moon is what I call the Moonifestation point. It is the result. It is the point of illumination. It is, and therefore you have to ask yourself, well, if that's the manifestation point and where we see our results, where was the beginning? Well, it was 2 weeks prior to the new moon. So at that new moon, it is not enough to wish for something. You really need to have a plan of action. And that's where I work with the 8 phases of the moon. And again, a lot of people have finally caught on in the last few years, and there's new books being written about it. I'm proud to say that I was the original. And I created, I don't know if it's going to come out. Well, I'm showing my book, the MoonCoaching Playbook, which is 300 and something pages of in-depth astrological lunar work. So it's not just the new moon and the full moon. There's the crescent, the first quarter, the gibbous, the full, the disseminating, the last quarter, and the balsamic. Did I say them all? Disseminating, last quarter, yes, and balsamic. So each one represents a step that you consciously work with. But again, the new moon is your beginning point. It is when you set your intention. It's when you commit. And through the law of resonance, you start to pull in all the energies of the cosmos and the zodiac in order to together, you and cosmos, make it happen, and to develop something externally and internally. So here's our first of the tarot cards that I love to include in my work, and of course it's the Magician. I feel that the new moon is the point when we're all magicians. So at every new moon, regardless of the tarot cards, just for the sake of making sure that there's tarot cards in this video, regardless of the cards that you work with and of the cards that you actually pull for the phases, and I'll show you what I mean by that later, I think it's really important to always have in front of you the Magician key, because the Magician is a picture of you at the moment of the new moon, aligning your consciousness, the above, and channeling it to the below with you in the center. It's almost as if there's this flow of the sun, the moon, and the earth. I love that. So you have all the tools at your disposal, just as a magician does at the new moon. If you have your astrology chart in hand, if you have your tarot and oracle decks in the other hand, and you have a basic understanding of at least the 4 main phases, better if you have an understanding of the 8 phases, and of the astrological energy in question. Right now, we are at the tail end of the Scorpio lunar month. The Scorpio new moon was on, where are we? On October 26th. And the next new moon will be Sagittarius on November 26th. I'm sorry, the Scorpio new moon was October 27th, and the Sagittarius new moon will be on the 26th. So we're at the end point of the Scorpio cycle, and this month has been flavored by doing soulful shadow work, by doing transformational work, forgiveness processes, etc. So we were flowing that, as a magician, we were flowing with that shamanic energy from Scorpio and clearing those pieces within our soul that may have felt, whether you did it consciously or perhaps subconsciously, maybe lost pieces of soul have been being reintegrated through experiences and work we've been doing throughout this particular lunar month. And the energy will be shifting next week to a much more lively, passionate, and fun, enthusiastic one with the fiery Sagittarius new moon. Now, I totally veered off subject. Silvia, we're doing new beginnings in 2020. I'm going to skip that. I'm going to skip some of these because I'm noticing I'm running out of time. So just keep in mind, every month, every new moon, you have the potential to create something different in your life. You're not just working with January 1st as a new beginning point, but you're going to get one every month throughout that year. So here we are. For those of you in the Southern Hemisphere, disregard the seasons that I've marked here. And instead, just focus on the fact that I've got, let's see if this works. You see where I have the arrow pointing to new beginning. That's what I started off today with, by explaining that the real new year is when we hit the Aries point, the 0 Aries point, which, as I said, this year's in March 24. I think it was for the new moon. And then it goes around. Each one of these lunar months represents a different kind of energy and focus for us. Where we are talking about with the new beginning 2020, January 1st, is up here at the top of the wheel where it says Capricorn, Winter, South, Earth, last quarter. So as you can see, this, in terms of the zodiacal year, January 1st, falls within the last quarter of the astrological year. So you kind of get a sense of how it is that it's an arbitrary new beginning point. January 1st actually falls within that last chunk of time within the astrological year. So it's really energetically an ending rather than a beginning. That said, again, I'm going to invite you to follow through with me when we get closer to that Aries point. And still, you can work with January 1st, as I said, because there's so much energy is being put into that through the collective field, that it is still worth using as a sort of launching point. All right, well, this just is more on the same, that I suggest the new moon as the beginning point for tuning into yourself, your soul. You guys are going to have to forgive me, but I'm going to have to skip all this so I can get to the actual chart. So I'm just going to let these flow up, and you can see how each one of the new moons, has a different energy. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and Cancer. And you'll see that I have them color-coded because something I haven't discussed yet were the elements. Each lunar month also has a different elemental quality to it. The red months are the fire months. So when you think of fire, what do you feel? There's an enthusiasm, there's an excitement, there's a passion, there's this idea of initiation, right? You strike a match, you light something on fire. There's a certain joie de vivre with the fire months. And then if you think about the green ones or the earth months, and those are new beginning points in terms of our tangible experiences, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. And we will be in the midst of the Capricorn lunar and solar month on January 1st, 2020, where the focus is on what's practical, what's down to earth. How can I manifest things in my daily experience here as a human being, which is very different than, say, one of the water months, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, which are marked in blue. Those water months are more of an internal, emotional, intuitive process. So intentions, new beginnings that have to do with how we process our emotional experiences. And the air months are the yellow ones, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. And air is the mind, it's communication. So those are new beginning points for us in the year that we can choose to focus on communication goals, relationship goals, getting your website up on the internet, becoming a YouTuber, whatever it is. So you have an opportunity to work elementally with these energies at various points in the year. I guess what I'm trying to share with you guys is that there's way more than one portal of opportunity when we speak the word new beginning. It's more than just January 1st. You have at least 12, and I think that's pretty cool. Okay, so I already covered that. So if we look at 2020 as a calendar year, January 1st through December 31st, what's going to happen is there are 12 new beginning points, meaning 12 new moons in 2020, which I have listed here. So if you want to write these down, or I'll post them up in the group for you. The first new moon in the calendar year 2020 will occur on January 24th with the Aquarius new moon, and the rest of them go like this. These are important because I really encourage you to work with your cards on these dates, to set your new moon intentions, to work your goals throughout the month, starting on each one of these dates. The interesting thing is, if you look at the portals of new beginnings in terms of the zodiacal year, which will be from 3/24, March 24th, the Aries new moon, until, I forgot what it was, I think March, whatever it is in 2021, from Aries to Pisces new moons, we actually have 13 lunar months. So there we have the solar and the lunar aspects of working with astrology. Now, other new beginning points. Got 15 minutes. Very important. This is about astrology, so let me just share with you what, please work with a professional astrologer. As I said, I'm a tropical, I work with the tropical zodiac. I'm a Western astrologer, psychological, humanistic, shamanic, evolutionary, vibrational astrologer. I have a long career in it, and there are other types of astrology. There's the Vedic system, which is used in India for the most part. And there's Uranian astrology, which is still a Western system. Without getting too technical and losing you, just find the system that works for you. They're going to be different, okay? In the Western world, it is best to work with the tropical system. It is more psychological and humanistic as opposed to Vedic, which is more predictive. There is a place in the Western world for that. And, I don't do predictions. I refuse to, because I believe in free will. And I believe in you creating your own reality. There are points within our consciousness that I think are pre-written, but for the most part, I think we have the ability to choose. So I don't do predictions one way, shape, or form. However, I do look at cycles, opportunities that are up and coming for you to create with. As I said, there are certain things that are written into your blueprint that you can apply the energetic streams that are coming forth through the astrological transits and create with it, okay? And evolve with them. So in that sense, I'm very humanistic and very psychological in my approach. So there's what is called a solar return. This is a solar birthday, and it happens one time a year. For every single one of us, that's going to be different. So there's a way of astrologically calculating the solar return, which means the current sun in its cycle around our solar system will return to the exact same degree position that it was when you took your first breath, when you became you as Wasima or as Christine or as Silvia. And that is significant because that energy is, again, a new beginning portal in which the sun becomes prime importance. The sun represents the very essence of our being. What does the sun do? The sun radiates life force energy. The sun brings light, awareness, consciousness. It is part one, with the moon being part two, of what creates fertility on our planet. So the sun is the very heart, the spirit within us. So when we're having a solar return, that is a new beginning point for developing your consciousness, for expressing your spirit in its most radiant, authentic, vital, and alive way that you can. So that solar return is really important for you to know what the date is. And you absolutely want to, if you wanted to, have an astrology reading, but definitely pull cards around how to work with that energy. And I will do individual videos for each one of these as a way of introducing and going a little bit deeper into these subjects, because I'm kind of probably throwing a lot of stuff at you in a very little bit of time, and some of which may be new to some of you. So I'm just planting these seeds with the hope that it inspires you to go deeper and deeper and deeper. So your solar return is a new beginning point. Your lunar return, and it happens, like I said, one time a year within 24 hours before or 24 hours after your actual calendar birth date. All right, your lunar return is your lunar birthday. This happens once a month. It's like a personal new moon. And this one is when the transiting moon happens to come to the same position again as your birth moon. So my moon is at 25 degrees of Sagittarius, the galactic center, other subject. My moon is, therefore, when the moon in her travels around and around the zodiac and her wonderful relationship with the sun and the earth and everything comes around to that point, that's my lunar return. That's my lunar birthday. And again, the moon is the soul. It's our intuition. It's that more feminine yin aspect, that inner receptive space holding capacity that we have for ourselves and others. So, and it's also our emotional body. So that lunar return, the lunar birthday, is important because that's a new beginning point in better dealing with our emotions. Another great time for pulling cards. And then there's the lunar phase return, and this one's a little bit more complicated. And it has to do with the actual lunar phase, soul lunar phase that happened when you were born. I'm a last quarter person. You may find out you're a new moon person or a full moon person. That means that at the time, if you're a full moon person, you were born at the time when there was a full moon occurring. So you're going to have qualities that are related to full moon. You may be a first quarter person. That means you were born on a first quarter moon when the sun and the moon were at a 90-degree angle. So like I said, this one's a little bit more complicated, but that's another new beginning point from an astrological perspective. Again, worth noting and playing with if you want to go deeper. Now, just like there's a solar return and a lunar return, there could be any other type of planet return. One of the most famous is the Saturn return, which occurs around age 28. And everybody who's older than that will remember some significant experience, because it's not event-oriented so much as it's a process of maturation when it comes to Saturn. At around age 28, 29, usually between 28 and 30. And so that's a return. Basically, what we're saying is when a planet returns to the same degree as its natal position is a new beginning point. And that is important as well to note. Are you at a Jupiter return cycle? That's 12 years. Mars return, that's connected to career and drive, active drive, and that's usually around 2-year cycle. And so on with all of the planets. So these are just additional points of interest for you if you want to go deeper. They are individual to you. If you are not an astrologer, then you'll want to consult with a professional to help you figure this out. And there are also wonderful resources online to help you, and an incredible amount of books written by colleagues. Stephen Forrest and, oh my God, there's Demetra George and some of my teachers, Alan Oak, and they're, if you have questions, I'm your girl when it comes to astrology. You can definitely, I've got, I think maybe 600 books on astrology alone. Some of you already know, oh God, I need to hide from Ouroboros. I have over 900 tarot and oracle decks. Ooh, I'm not ashamed. I love them. But yeah, you've inspired me, Natalia, to get rid of some of them because I'm not using all of them, even though I do use, believe it or not, the vast majority of my sacred work and teaching classes and everything. I pull them out, whatever's appropriate. So what I'm saying is, if you need some guidance on combining astrology and tarot, that's my area of expertise. Now, of these that I'm pointing out here, the one that is the most important for you to know about in 2020 for you personally is the solar return. So again, if let's say my birthday is March 4th, so my solar return will be either the 3rd, the 4th, or the 5th. And again, that's astrologically calculated. And I will create a ceremony, a ritual on that day in order to really connect with the sun in myself. And the sun, in terms of the chakra system, is the heart chakra. The sun is, at the medical astrology, that's one of my other areas that I work with, is the heart itself. So just like it's what everything in our solar system revolves around. So that's how important understanding your sun is. The newspaper articles on your sun sign, super flat, superficial, just like making new moon wishes on just by itself is. But if you really understand the sun in your chart, not just by sign and by house, but by aspects to other planets, because it's having conversations with other planets in your charts, okay? What are those conversations? What are the sun and moon saying to each other? What are the sun, moon, and Pluto saying to each other? All these help you to go deeper and deeper into the very marrow of your spiritual bone. So what I'm sharing here with you is just the tip of the iceberg, but there's a lot more. So bring it right back. Solar return. Find out what your solar return date is and moment to the minute, and create a tarot ritual and ceremony for yourself around that energy on that day and at that moment. All right, just an example picture here of how I lay out the chart for a particular new moon, and I work with the the oracle cards. I'm on Instagram, by the way, in 2 ways, as at MoonCoaching, at the MoonCoach, and at AstroTarotOlogy. But right now, the most active one is at MoonCoaching. So you'll see that I post at each one of the phases to kind of kickstart you. But again, the new moon is the most important one. So the way that I would encourage you to do this is, even though I work super deep with it and pull at eight cards at each one of the phases, you can go the next step down and work with the 4 cards, which would be new moon, first quarter, full moon, and last quarter. And if you're pressed for time at any point, or if this is way too much to deal with because you got your hands full with a lot of other processes, then you can just pull for the new moon and the full moon. New moon card would be, you can do it one of 2 ways. Let's say, well, I'll give you an example. For the Taurus Scorpio month, again, that began on October 27th, I was working with the Scorpio energy of, the shamanic inner work of releasing old stuck energies, which included physical detox. So, I may pull a card that represents, I did pull a card consciously that represented physical detox. And I consciously chose a card that represented dealing with my addictions. My addiction is, I have a hard time saying no to some decks. You can call me a shopaholic. Seriously, a tarotholic. It's not a joke. Yeah, I can hear Natalia laughing if she's watching this. So I literally would pick something like the Devil card to help me to focus on, I want to heal the way that I am held back by my addictions and limitations. And that becomes a sort of placeholder, a reminder for the entire lunar month on the energy that I'm working on healing. At the same time, I may pull a second card for the new moon, face down, okay? And they usually fly out for me. Yikes. That will represent what energy within my soul is supporting my ability to bring my Scorpio intention into Moonifestation by the full moon, which was the Taurus full moon. And I was able to learn more about what was important to me as a result of the detox and clearing of my energy field in terms of the addiction to buying. Anyways, I'm running out of time, so let me finish up here. So every astrological solar lunar conjunction, which is a new moon, is a new beginning. So we're all fools. So just keep that in mind. If you take nothing else from today, for the new beginnings, it's find out what your solar return is in 2020 and create an astro ceremony around that, and then determine, if you can't do all of the new moons in the year, let's see if you can find the ones that are most personally meaningful to you. And again, I'll post that slide in the group that shows the energy, the focus for each one of the new moons and the dates. That's my dad, by the way. All right, the January 1st, 2020 astrology chart for all of us. I set this as a with 0 Aries at the ascendant point. For those of you understand, you know what that means. Those of you that don't worry. What I want to point out is, at the exact moment that the calendar new year begins, we have, I'm going to count these: Mercury, Jupiter, the lunar south node, the sun, Saturn, and Pluto. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planetary points plus the the south node in the same sign, which is Capricorn. So right off the bat, we're focused on the Capricorn energy, which we are every new year, because obviously we're in the middle of the solar cycle on January 1st, when the sun is traveling through Capricorn, which is the 10th sign, in which we are getting serious. Now, serious about the practical affairs of life and about reaching our personal Mount, ¿cómo se llama? Sorry, I'm thinking in Spanish. Our personal Mount Everest, meaning we become very goal-oriented. So in one way, even though January 1st is an arbitrarily set, and I think patriarchally derived new beginning point called a new year, it nonetheless does have this idea of a resolution is a personal goal that feels very much like Mount Olympus, not Mount Olympus, what did I just say? The top of the mountain. You know, we're reaching for the highest possible place we can. Now, because of timing, I'm gonna have to do a separate presentation on this chart and the meaning that it has for the collective. A lot of my colleagues have been writing about the importance of this Saturn-Pluto in Capricorn piece. It is massive, and it is something that doesn't happen often at all, because the Pluto cycle is, I forget the exact number, 200 and something years for it to go around the entire zodiacal wheel. So this is highly significant in terms of Saturn-Pluto being the demolishing of patriarchal systems in which the powers that be may have abused their power and now are having to be brought down. I'm not going to say any more about that because I can easily get into social politics, and we're all from different systems around that. Just know that at a collective level, what we're seeing happen worldwide, because it's happening everywhere, not just the US, is astrologically timed for change to happen at a deep level in terms of social structures, political structures, power structures. And if we can understand where we want to go next, which is where intention setting becomes so big with people like you, like ourselves, that we can envision new realities for the collective, then we're helping to usher in a new age. So having said that, I'm also going to have to leave the Capricorn new moon chart. Now, the new moon is actually before the calendar date. It's December 26th of this year at 12:13 a.m. Eastern time. And again, that new moon will be the sun and moon in Capricorn. And once again, we see this tremendous grouping of Capricorn energy. I mean, that's a given because all these are slower moving planets. Only the sun and moon are quicker. So write that date down too as a sort of precursor to the January 1st new beginning. It's almost as if the real one starts December 26th. That's yet another date to add to the ones I gave you for March. So just each new moon, work with your chart and pull your cards. Ask, what direction will I take with my creative power? And I think that this might be one of the last couple slides. The Tarot Major Arcana of January 1st, 2020. As I said, the focus is on Capricorn. Capricorn in the Major Arcana is represented by the Devil card. And Saturn, which is the ruling planet for Capricorn, and as you saw, very strongly positioned for both the Capricorn new moon and for the January 1st chart, is the World. So Devil is Capricorn and the World card is Saturn. So I would suggest that you use this both on the Capricorn new moon and in whatever work you're going to be doing for your new beginning January 1st, and ask yourself, you know, what are the things that bedevil me? where am I limited that I am now ready to break free from? How can I heal belief systems and things that I may have inherited from social, political, religious systems that are on their way out? How can I deal with that within myself so that there's a better picture, a better external reality, and not just my personal world, but the world, and bring that into play? You know, when you do your work, include some meditation on these two cards. So I'm a little over. I'm just going to tell you, if you want to work with me with the lunar journeys, either the 12 in the calendar year or the 13 in the astro-lunar year, then come play with me. I do the guided lunar journeys, working with the tarot cards and working with the prompts, pulling at each one of the 8 phases, and working with the individual astrological energy, again, based on my MoonCoaching playbook and system. Okay, I'll have to leave that for another time. If you want to learn astrology, celestialarchetypes.com. I've got a group coming up. Here's my advertising, yeah? And AstroTarotOlogy.com. I do have a number of webinars and video courses that I'm going to be posting in January, as a matter of fact, for the new year to go deeper. Oh, I forgot about this. Path of the Lunar Priestess. I've got that happening. So lunarpriestess.com. And that's it, folks. Let me see if there's anything here. We don't have time to pull cards. So I guess, I don't know. Since this is my first YouTube live video, I don't know if I did it right or not. I'm very formal. And again, it sucks that I can't see your faces and I can't hear your voices, because that's really important to me. All of my classes are super experiential, and I love to be able to pull up people's charts as I'm doing this kind of presentation and say, oh, well, let's pull a name from here. Lady Knight of Avalon. Let's take a look at your chart. Let's see where that Pluto-Saturn conjunction is in your chart, and let's pull some cards for that. Or, you know, I might say, oh, let's see, give just another random name here that I'm not, Jackson's Wild Gypsy Cauldron. You know, let's pull your chart and let's look at where the Capricorn new moon is going to happen in yours, and find out what part of your psyche is being invited into co-creation to better deal with Capricornian issues, which are, you know, moving into that space of, what am I going to leave as a legacy for future generations? And I guess I'm going to close on that ultimately the big question, given the astrological picture, whether we're looking at it from the Capricorn new moon on December 26th or January 1st, 2020, is this: for 2020 and for the entire decade, what legacy are we as individuals wanting to envision for the future generations? What is our sacred work with all of these amazing cards? You know, I pulled some cards that I had intended on pulling from. Here's the Ember and Aura Tarot, the Wheel of Change Tarot. I've got, from Flash Silvermoon, oh golly, the Wise Woman's Tarot, which sadly this lady died. Her deck is now out of print. The Light Seers, you know, whatever, pick your baby, and really sit with the question on what the legacy is that you ideally would like to leave behind for future generations, and not just your own kids and grandkids if you have them, but really for future selves. You know, I started saying at the onset that we become myopic and look only at this incarnation. You know, here I am, Silvia Magdalena Pancaro, and this is my, whatever I'm going to live, 90 years, who knows, 100, I don't, whatever. And this is it. Well, it's not it. I'm part of a bigger cycle of consciousness evolving, all of us together in a bigger body. And therefore, it behooves us to consider, I'm going to come back. I'm not done with my 26,000 year cycle. I'm not done with developing my larger body of consciousness in communion with all of you, with all that is. So in closing, I just would like to invite you to get serious with that question in 2020. What am I doing to leave behind a legacy of beauty, of balance, of fairness, of love, of light? Fill in the blank, whatever values are important to you. What am I doing? And then let's play some more. This is Silvia Pancaro, Moon Coach, wishing you all a beautiful evening. I will go and check your notes and find me on mooncoaching.com. And I send you all love and blessings. I guess I could end with it. Good night, everybody.